Welcome to the final segment of DermTV Viewer Questions Week for May 2013. Today's episode will feature questions from DermTV YouTube viewers and DermTV.com viewers. Hello, I'm Dr. Neil Schultz, and welcome to DermTV. Today's first question comes from Fabu concerning the episode Unconfusing Skincare, AHAs versus HAs. And Fabu says, "Hi doc, do glycolic and salicylic acids provoke growth of hair on the face in case of regular use?" That's an interesting question because we know that retinoids can sometimes enhance the penetration of products that help hair growth, but no. These exfoliants, alpha hydroxy acids, beta hydroxy acids, will not do anything to stimulate hair growth. And I will tell you one thing. If they did, we would have an awful lot of hairy women walking into my office because so many of them are using glycolic acid on their face for more beautiful, younger, and healthier looking skin for years and years. So I can tell you with great confidence that these products do not cause increased hair growth. It'd be interesting if they did. LaCurly's asks, about DermTV Viewer Questions from April 2013. What if I wax the hair on my arms where I have a mole? Could I rip the mole off? That would be very unusual to rip the mole off, but what will happen is if you have a hair in the mole, you're going to pull the hair out of the mole. And that can set up a sequence of ingrown hairs in the mole or getting a big pimple in the mole, but it would be very unlikely to actually damage the mole. So if you have a raised mole, it's okay to wax. And I would recommend if there's a hair in the mole so you don't pull it out with the waxing, you might want to just take a scissor and cut it right at the base so you don't pull it out and set up that sequence of ingrown hairs. Blah blah 365 love about can you use glycolic and retin-A says, "Hi doc, I have a question. I've been taking doxycycline for almost 2 months now and have gotten great results." I'm very happy to hear that. "I'm almost acne-free except for my hyperpigmentation and some chest-shoulder acne from exercise. My question is, does acne return after you stop taking the doxycycline? And if it does, or do you have to take the antibiotic for life? I've heard acne becomes resistant to doxycycline, and some people say it doesn't become resistant." Well, let's address the first question, which is, do you have to take it for life? No, you don't. After your acne is under control, most people who are taking doxycycline are taking 2 pills a day, 1 in the morning and 1 at night. So after it's under control, you should be gradually tapered off the doxycycline by gradually reducing the dose. So you go from 2 pills a day to 1 pill a day for 2 or 3 weeks. And if you maintain your improvement, then perhaps 1 pill every other day for 2 or 3 weeks. And then after that, perhaps 1 pill every 3rd day. And then you stop it. And what seems to happen is by gradually reducing the dose, you sort of fool your body into thinking you're still taking the doxycycline, and you get a sustained improvement in your acne for as long as months and sometimes even years. In terms of resistance to doxycycline, your acne can become resistant to any antibiotic. And the way you know that it's become resistant is that antibiotic just isn't doing for you what it should be doing. But that's an entirely different question from how do you get off an antibiotic and maintain your improvement. The last question from our YouTube viewers comes from Gerbil Bill about what does skin cancer feel like? And question is, how likely is it that skin cancer will develop in areas of the body that typically receive no sunlight? Very important. There are 3 kinds of skin cancer: basal cancer, squamous cell cancer, and melanoma. The first 2, basal and squamous, are exceedingly rare in places that don't get sun exposure. But the killer, melanoma, the 3rd type, which kills 1 American every 55 minutes, 10,000 Americans a year, can occur anywhere on your body, whether it's exposed to the sun or not. In simplistic terms, the sun shines over here and causes a burn. And causing the burn, that damage is conveyed through communicating cells in the skin to cells under the epidermis in the dermis, and they then talk to cells in the bloodstream. And the cells in the bloodstream go all around your body, even to places that don't see the sun, like under your bathing suit, your scalp, even if you have a full head of hair, and they then talk back to the different layers of skin and come all the way up to the melanocytes in the epidermis and cause damage to those melanocytes. So it's melanoma that can occur any place on your body, regardless of where you get the sun exposure. So don't think for 1 minute that because an area has never been exposed to the sun, that you can't get skin cancer there. Let's go to our DermTV.com viewers. And the first question comes from Priyanka, and she says, I have keratosis pilaris, post-acne dark spots, and gray hyperpigmentation around the mouth. I'd like to use glycolic acid, hydroquinone, and vitamin C at night, but is it possible to use them together? This article, and she gives a link to an article, says the acid will break down the other ingredients. I know you've covered layering products by weight. I would really appreciate some help. Very good question, particularly in view of the link that you sent, and I read the link. But it's not quite as simplistic as the answer in the link suggests, because it really depends on, number one, the pH of the products, as lower pH products can cause oxidation of the hydroquinone, and it also has to do with vitamin C's stability in terms of sulfites in other products that are in the same system. Higher pH glycolic products applied as a separate layer are unlikely to be a problem for hydroquinone, and particularly unlikely to be a problem for esters of vitamin C. And as you know, while ascorbic acid is the regular vitamin C product in an acidic form, I prefer esters of vitamin C like tetrahexadecyl ascorbate because esters are more stable, as indicated here. They penetrate better, and they're less apt to be irritating. Rachel says, I've heard a lot about Emu Oil, and I use it in my skincare routine, but I'm not sure if it's helping me the way it's supposed to. Sometimes I look like I have an oil-slicked face. The product is supposed to help the products that you use to sink in the skin deeper. Is this true? Rachel, what do you think? I have a feeling that this whole issue with putting oil on the skin is counterproductive. I'm not a big fan of the oil process of removing oil. I'm not a big fan of applying oil to the skin for any reason that is unnecessary unless you have mature skin. Mature skin is what happens in your late 50s and 60s, where both your oil glands and water glands have become underfunctional. And when your oil glands are underfunctional, then you need to replace your oil. But short of that, I would not count on oil to help remove oil or to help skincare ingredients penetrate deeper. And I would be concerned about, number one, their comedogenicity in terms of causing you to break out and get clogs and comedones. And second of all, in terms of your face sliding off your pillow at night. Just kidding. Okay. Carol says, hi, doctor. I always wear 5% zinc oxide physical sunscreen every day under my liquid makeup, no sunscreen type, and 20% zinc oxide mineral powder on top. If some days I wear 5% zinc oxide sunscreen and then apply a different liquid foundation that has a chemical sunscreen in it, followed by my 20% zinc oxide mineral powder makeup, what type of sun protection am I getting? Or am I getting more of the physical or chemical? I prefer, she says, zinc oxide sunscreen than other sunscreens, but most liquid foundations have physical sunscreens only. Carol, it comes down to which is the first sunscreen on your skin. If your 5% zinc oxide is the first sunscreen on your skin, that is going to give you, you're going to get a real 5% zinc oxide effect. And 5% zinc oxide can give you an SPF of 20, 30, 40, 50, depending on how it's formulated. When you then put your liquid foundation on, which has a chemical sunscreen in it, that chemical sunscreen is not going to work that well because of the zinc oxide. But then when you put your your powder on with 20% zinc oxide, that certainly is going to add to the efficacy of the original 5% zinc oxide. Let me make this very simple for you. I think you're getting great sun protection no matter how you do it in the different ways you've described, as long as you're reapplying it. So my question to you, Carol, is, with all of this on, how can you reapply without removing everything? Or, if you're really at work and you're not sweating and you're not active, as long as your foundation is intact, then you don't need to reapply until you go home at the end of the day. What an interesting question. And our last question for today's episode comes from Osman, and he says, "Hi Doc, I have a dry lip, lower lip, 365 days a year. I've tried millions of balms and waxes, but they don't help me, and basically my lip doesn't have cracks or bleeding. However, it forms a hard layer of skin, and when I peel it off," which sounds like a problem, "it starts bleeding," which makes sense. If you peel any skin off, your skin's going to start bleeding. "Any help will be much appreciated." Sure, you have to first of all stop peeling it off, which means you're going to have to go through a period of a week where you're going to get this thick layer of skin, and despite getting this thick layer of skin, keep putting on all the lip balms, all the ointment, Vaseline, Aquaphor. If you give it enough time, give it a week, by not picking it off, the skin will normalize and your problem will go away. So that's it for this month's Viewer Questions Week. And don't forget, the subjects of so many DermTV episodes come from your questions, which are great. So please keep sending them in, and I'll keep answering as many of them as I can. Please join me again at dermtv.com. If you have a question, please send it to me by visiting dermtv.com/question. I'm Dr. Neil Schultz, and thank you for watching today.